I'd always thought of our little suburban neighborhood as a slice of Americana, picket fences, kids on bikes, and the occasional block party where everyone pretends to like each other. That was until I met Karen, the self-appointed queen of the Homeowners Association, HOA. Karen wasn't just any neighbor. She was the kind of person who'd measure your grass with a ruler and leave a passive-aggressive note if it was half an inch too long. Her house, a beige monstrosity with perfectly manicured roses, was her throne, and she ruled our cul-de-sac with an iron fist wrapped in a floral gardening glove. I'm Sarah, a single 30-something graphic designer who moved here 2 years ago, hoping for a quiet life. My house is modest, my lawn is decent, and I keep to myself, but Karen, she had it out for me from day one. Maybe it was my slightly eclectic garden gnomes, or the fact that I didn't attend her mandatory HOA meetings. Whatever it was, Karen made it her mission to nitpick every detail of my existence. Your mailbox is leaning 2 degrees to the left, she'd say, or those daisies are an invasive species. I'd smile, nod, and go about my day, but inside I was simmering. The trouble really started this spring when I bought a new garden hose, a sleek green heavy-duty one that could withstand my clumsy attempts at watering my tomato plants. I was proud of it, okay? It was coiled neatly by my front porch, a small symbol of my suburban competence. Little did I know that Jose was about to become the spark that ignited a petty war. It was a sunny Saturday when I noticed my hose was gone. Poof, vanished. I checked the backyard, the garage, even under the porch, in case I'd somehow kicked it there in a gardening frenzy. Nothing. I was baffled, but chalked it up to maybe misplacing it. I bought a cheap replacement from Home Depot and moved on. But then a week later I saw it. My hose in all its green glory stretched across Karen's front yard, happily watering her prize-winning azaleas. I couldn't believe it. This woman who'd once reported me for leaving a recycling bin out past 7 p.m. had straight up stolen my hose. I marched over ready to confront her, but Karen was already on her porch sipping iced tea like she was auditioning for a Southern Belle role. "Oh, Sarah," she said, smirking. "I borrowed it. It's not up to HOA standards, so I figured I'd put it to better use." "Borrowed," I sputtered. "Karen, that's my hose. I paid for it." "Give it back," she waved a hand dismissively. "It's community property now. Besides, your watering habits were wasteful. I'm doing you a favor." Then she turned and went inside, leaving me standing there, jaw on the ground. I was livid, but I knew arguing with Karen was like wrestling a pig in mud. You get dirty and the pig enjoys it. So I let it go, or so I thought. But the real kicker came a month later when my water bill arrived. It was $200, triple my usual amount. I called the water company thinking it was a mistake, but they confirmed the usage was legit. That's when it hit me. Karen wasn't just using my hose, she was using my water meter. Her yard was connected to my line because of some outdated plumbing setup from when the neighborhood was built. Every time she watered her stupid flowers, I was footing the bill. I stormed over to her house again, this time with the bill in hand. "Karen, you're using my water? This is theft." She just laughed, that infuriating, condescending chuckle. "Prove it, sweetie. Maybe you're just bad at budgeting." Then she slammed the door in my face. That was it. The gloves were off. Karen had pushed me too far, and I wasn't about to let her walk all over me anymore. I spent the next few days fuming, but I'm not one for direct confrontation. I'm more of a smile sweetly while plotting kind of gal. So I started digging. First, I checked the HOA bylaws. Turns out Karen's little hose theft violated several rules about property boundaries and shared utilities. But I knew reporting her to the HOA would be pointless. She was the HOA. I needed something bigger, something that would hit her where it hurt her pride and her wallet. That's when I remembered a friend who worked for the city's water department. I called her up, casually asking about unusual water usage and how it's handled. She told me that if someone reports a potential leak or suspicious activity, the water company sends out a crew to investigate, and if they find unauthorized usage, the culprit gets slapped with fines and back-billed for the water jackpot. My plan was simple but deliciously petty. I called the water company and, in my most concerned neighbor voice, reported unusual water usage at Karen's address. "I've seen water running in her yard for hours," I said, "and I'm worried there might be a leak or something fishy going on." The operator thanked me and said they'd send someone out to check. But I didn't stop there. I wanted Karen to feel the heat. I printed out a fake water conservation notice on some official-looking letterhead I mocked up in Photoshop. It warned of potential violations and pending investigations into excessive water use. I slipped it into her mailbox unsigned, of course. Then I rallied a few neighbors who'd also had run-ins with Karen. We agreed to casually mention the water investigation around her, just to crank up the paranoia. The day of the water company's visit was glorious. I was working from home, peeking through my blinds like a nosy sitcom character. A utility truck rolled up, and two workers started poking around Karen's yard. Karen came flying out of her house, her face redder than her roses, waving her arms and yelling about trespassing. The workers calmly explained they were investigating a reported issue. I could practically see the steam coming out of her ears. That evening, I got a call from my friend at the water department. They'd found that Karen's yard was indeed pulling water from my meter, and they'd traced it back to her unauthorized use of my hose. She was now on the hook for a $500 fine, plus back billing for the water she'd used. Oh, and they'd shut off her water until she paid up. Karen was a wreck for the next week. Her perfect lawn started browning without her daily watering sessions, and the neighborhood buzzed with gossip. She tried to spin it, telling everyone it was a misunderstanding, but nobody bought it. The fake notice I'd planted had done its job. Karen was convinced the whole neighborhood was watching her, and she was too embarrassed to show her face at the next HOA meeting. I got my hose back. By the way, Karen left it on my porch with a note that just said, "Here, no apology, no explanation." Typical. I also got a refund from the water company for the overcharges, plus a nice little apology letter for the mix-up. The best part. A few weeks later, I was chatting with a neighbor who let slip that Karen had been audited by the city for other HOA violations, thanks to an anonymous tip. Not me, but I wasn't mad about it. Apparently, her reign of terror was starting to crumble. The neighborhood felt lighter, like we'd all been freed from her petty tyranny. Looking back, I don't regret a thing. Karen thought she could bully me into submission, but I showed her that even a quiet graphic designer can bite back. The lesson here: don't mess with someone's hose or their water bill. You might just find yourself high and dry. And the cherry on top, I used the refund money to buy a new sprinkler system. Now every time Karen walks by and sees my lush green lawn, I give her a little wave. She hasn't said a word to me since the end.